I stood in the lobby of my boutique hotel, the Heathbrook, staring at the email that had just landed in my inbox. My hands trembled so violently I nearly dropped my phone. Dear M. Alexandra Bennett. On behalf of the British royal family, I am inquiring about the exclusive booking of your entire property for a month-long stay. I sank onto the nearest armchair, heart thudding in my chest. Across town, my brother James was likely rehearsing his big presentation for our upcoming family reunion, the one my parents had insisted on hosting at his gleaming luxury monstrosity instead of my quaint little bed and breakfast. I'm Alexandra Bennett, and this is the story of how my family's snobbery about my hotel blew up in their perfectly polished faces. 2 weeks earlier, we were gathered around my parents' dining table, where the wine flowed and the praise for James flowed even faster. 30 stories of pure luxury, my mother said, beaming as she swirled her Chardonnay. James really understands what sophisticated travelers want. I bit the inside of my cheek. The Grand Bennett was James in hotel form, flashy, soulless, and designed more for appearances than experience. Chrome, glass, and identical rooms stacked like high-end shoeboxes. The family reunion must be held there, my father declared, his tone final. 300 guests flying in from all over the globe. We need to showcase the success of the Bennett name. I cleared my throat. The Heathbrook could host it. We have enough suites. And our chef. Oh, darling, my mother gave me that sugar-dipped condescension I'd known since childhood. Your little place is darling, but this is a major family event. We need something more substantial. The Heathbrook is substantial, I said, my voice firmer. We have 25 individually designed suites, a Michelin-starred kitchen, and 25 rooms, James said, sauntering in late as usual, flashing his trademark smirk. That's not a hotel, that's an Airbnb with aspirations. I tightened my grip on my water glass. What they didn't know, what they'd never bothered to ask, was that the Heathbrook had just been named one of the top 10 boutique hotels in England by Travel Plus Leisure. This wasn't just a business, it was my vision brought to life. I had taken a crumbling 200-year-old manor and poured everything into it. Each room told a story. Our restaurant didn't serve food, it curated moments. The gardens were more than beautiful, they sustained our kitchen. But to my family, success only mattered if it had a skyscraper and a stock ticker. We've already made arrangements, my father said firmly. James has everything handled. I stood up, swallowing the bitter taste in my mouth. Fine, just let me know the dates so I don't double book. James chuckled. Might as well keep your rooms open, for the cousins who can't afford real luxury. I didn't respond, there was no point. To them, hospitality was a business. To me, it was a craft. Back at the Heathbrook, I buried myself in work. Peak season was approaching. I had a new chef in training, gardens to fine-tune, and 100 details demanding attention. That's when things took a turn. Miss Bennett, Sophie, my front desk manager, called one morning. There's a gentleman asking detailed questions about security and our private entrance. Says he's here for a preliminary site evaluation. I glanced up to see a man in a razor-sharp suit surveying the lobby with laser focus. I approached. Good morning, I'm Alexandra Bennett, the owner. How can I help you? He turned to me with a cool, appraising nod. Richard Morton, Royal Protection Group. We're assessing properties for a potential long-term stay. Your hotel came highly recommended. My heart stuttered. The Royal Protection Group, that meant only one thing. I forced a calm smile. Of course, would you like a tour? What followed was 2 hours of meticulous inspection. Mr. Morton checked everything, from security systems to staff protocols to kitchen ventilation. He seemed especially intrigued by our secluded gardens and the old carriage house entrance, now converted into a discreet private access. Very promising, he murmured, scribbling something in his notebook. And just like that, the game began to change. The size of the property turned out to be a perfect fit, large enough to accommodate the entire royal party, yet intimate enough to secure with ease. Richard Morton gave the walled gardens an approving glance. Excellent. He left with a folder of detailed documentation. I tried to temper my expectations, but 2 days later, a second team arrived, this time with clipboards, earpieces, and an air of quiet efficiency. They inspected every suite, tested our communications systems, and conducted interviews with my senior staff. Then the email arrived. I read it 3 times, just to be sure. The royal family wanted to book the Heathbrook, every suite, the restaurant, the gardens, for an entire month. Just as I was processing that reality, my phone buzzed. James. Hey sis, for the reunion, thinking we'll stick the second cousins in the budget wing, you know, the Ohio crew. They probably wouldn't appreciate the premium suites anyway. I stared at the royal confirmation, a slow smile spreading across my face. Me, actually, James, I won't be able to help with the overflow. We're fully booked that month. Wait, all 25 rooms? What, did you get a bus tour? Something like that, I said aloud, then typed back, good luck with the reunion. I ended the call and looked around my lobby, sunlight catching the polished wood, antique chandeliers glowing warm and golden. In a few short weeks, royalty would walk these halls, but for now, there was work to do. James kept texting. A full booking, you sure you didn't add wrong? Must be nice, having so few rooms to manage. Dad says you're just avoiding the reunion. I didn't reply, let them assume whatever made them feel superior. Sometimes, silence is the most satisfying setup for the truth. And the truth was coming fast. On Tuesday morning, the headlines broke. British royal family chooses historic Heathbrook Hotel for extended summer stay. Within hours, my phone exploded, calls from journalists, congratulations from peers, media inquiries stacking up like linen orders. James was the first to call, his voice was clipped. This is a joke, right? No joke, I said, glancing at my staff prepping for the final security walkthrough. The royal family will be staying at the Heathbrook through July. But that's when the reunion's scheduled. Oh no, I said, not bothering to hide my satisfaction. What an unfortunate coincidence. 20 minutes later, my parents walked into the lobby in their tennis whites, looking around like they were seeing the place for the first time. Alexandra, my father said, voice taut with disapproval, why didn't you tell us? I met his gaze, like you told me you were holding the reunion at James's hotel. Besides, I was bound by a confidentiality clause. My mother brushed a hand over a mahogany console table, her finger finding not a speck of dust. But surely, they must have considered the Grand Bennett. James's hotel is so modern. They did, I said smoothly, but they preferred something with character and discretion. Just then, James stormed through the doors, phone in hand. This is absurd. I've already reserved 300 rooms, planned custom menus. We're locked in. And now, I said sweetly, you've got 300 very available rooms. Maybe you can fill them with a bus tour. His face turned crimson. You did this on purpose. Of course I did. I built something worth noticing. But what about the reunion? My mother asked, suddenly uncertain. I leaned back at my antique reception desk, savoring the moment. 2 options, you reschedule, or you host it at the Grand Bennett, knowing that while everyone's there, I'll be here, hosting the royal family. The silence was exquisite. Just then, Richard Morton entered with the final security team. He nodded to me. Miss Bennett, we're ready for the walkthrough. Also, Her Royal Highness wanted to commend your discretion. She was impressed the story didn't leak before the official release. My family stared, stunned, as I walked away with the team. Through the lobby's security monitors, I watched their expressions slowly shift, from disbelief, to realization, to something that looked a lot like regret. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of preparation. While James fumbled with cancellation notices and awkward calls to distant relatives, I orchestrated the most important booking of my life. And then, arrival day. I stood with my staff at the private entrance as the royal motorcade pulled up, every movement choreographed to perfection. The hours that followed were a blur of precise service, quiet elegance, and undeniable pride. This was more than just a win. This was proof. Every detail we prepared, every thoughtful touch we planned, unfolded without a single hitch. That evening, a handwritten note arrived, Her Royal Highness herself, thanking me for the Heathbrook's exceptional charm, flawless service, and meticulous attention to detail. I took a photo of the note and sent it to the family group chat, which had been oddly silent since the news broke. The replies trickled in. Mom, darling, we may have underestimated your vision. Dad, very impressive. Alexandra. James, whatever, it's just one booking. But it wasn't just one booking. The royal visit put the Heathbrook on the global map. Overnight, my 25 rooms became the most sought-after accommodations in the country. Our waitlist grew by the day, stretching months into the future. Meanwhile, The Grand Bennett floundered in the wake of the cancelled reunion. Some relatives refused to rebook, many of them requested to be added to the Heathbrooks list instead. A month later, I sat in my office reviewing the latest press features. Forbes had crowned the Heathbrook the top boutique hotel in Europe. Travel Plus Leisure was profiling our farm-to-table restaurant. Condé Nast Traveler called us the crown jewel of British hospitality. My phone buzzed. James. Look, he said, his tone unusually cautious. Occupancy's been down. Reviews are not great. Maybe we should talk. A collaboration? Your eye for detail. Our scale, think about it. I glanced out the window at the gardens, still perfectly pruned, where the royal family had once enjoyed tea under the wisteria-covered trellis. Sorry, James, I said, evenly, we're not taking on collaborations at the moment. The waiting list keeps us quite busy, but hey, bus tours are always looking for venues. I ended the call and walked the halls of my hotel. Every suite was booked, every guest was delighted, every staff member moved with pride, knowing they were part of something rare and extraordinary. My parents no longer suggested I rejoin the family business. James stopped cracking jokes about my little place. And the reunion, eventually rescheduled, at the Heathbrook. Unfortunately, we were fully booked for the next 2 years. Because sometimes, success isn't loud or sprawling. Sometimes, it's not about scale or flash. Sometimes, success is 25 rooms, run with vision, care, and uncompromising excellence. Later that evening, as I checked in a renowned film director who had waited months for a reservation, my phone buzzed again. James, okay, I admit it, you won. I smiled, thinking of the confirmed royal booking for next summer, the list of celebrities and dignitaries waiting their turn, and the quiet empire I'd built behind ivy-covered walls. No, James. I didn't win. I just built something better. Because sometimes the smallest places make the loudest statements. And sometimes, a quiet little bed and breakfast can outshine the grandest hotel, especially when it bears the crown's seal of approval.